Good evening and welcome to the Press Club for this week. I'm Kendall Burton. I'm here with Mr. Earl Buske. We review the big stories making news every week. This is our final show for the year, by the way.
Is it?
And we've had a lot to talk about, a lot happening this week as well. The Mirror newspaper headline, gearing up for elections, UWP and SLP present 3 new candidates. And the photos of the gentlemen pictured on the front of the paper. The Nationwide, the official government paper, Taiwanese toys for teens and toddlers. The Star newspaper, SLP spills beans on Allen's Monaco hookup, and former justice says hang them high. Also the Voice newspaper, in the election mode as well, Labrie man on a mission, candidate wants to revive agriculture and provide jobs, story by Stan Bishop. Where do you want to start? We start with the Mirror and Voice headlines. I guess given the hot stories, the elections, election campaigning. Although
I would say the Star's headline is also associated with elections from the standpoint that it says the Monaco thing is part of SLP's election propaganda.
I know you think the campaign officially started on Monday, but to my mind, I think it never stopped. It never stopped. But the two parties have been finalizing their list of candidates for the upcoming election. We still don't know when that's going to be. In the case of the UWP, they presented Dr. Ulrich Mondesi for Vieux Fort South, Peterson Francis, Castries Central, Herod Stanislas, Soufriere, and Force Jacques. That's for the UWP. On the SLP side, Herbert Rosary for Mico North, Jerome Gideon, Denry South, and Joachim Henry, Castries Southeast. We've heard Guy Joseph going after Joachim Henry very early, and the Prime Minister alluding to the fact that he had set his mind on getting rid of Guy Joseph once and for all. I guess we can start there. As we prepare for the campaign, a question we put on Street Vibes this week, and I guess we can start a discussion with it, is our politics too personality driven and not enough focus on issues?
That's how politics is everywhere. Whether you have presidential elections or elections for parliament to elect a prime minister, it always evolves, revolves around the person. Presidential elections, presidential candidates. General elections, again, it is the candidates. When we say personality driven, I suspect the intention there is to raise the issue as to whether too much emphasis is being placed on the individuals in terms of their personality, their personal lives, their personal dispositions vis-a-vis policies, and their ability to do the job, their preparedness to do what it takes. That brings me right back to my usual bugbear about the absence of any requirements to become a candidate. The simple requirement to become a candidate for any party is your ability to win. And candidates are chosen simply and only on the basis of their ability to win. Now, that's what it's all about, winning elections. But then, like I have always said, we're seeing it again this year. An election is in the offing. It could be as much as 1 year away. It could be as little as 21 days away. But we still haven't got complete slates. We still have secret weapons being held back. We still have persons who we know going to contest seats not launching themselves. So that tends to go back to the question. Is it personality driven? Yes, it's personality driven because politics is about personalities and electing persons to political positions. Is it too focused on the personality of the person, the person's private disposition? An interesting development here. The United Workers' Party has launched a candidate in Labrie who is the father of the press secretary to the Prime Minister. Is the is that campaign going to evolve around father and daughter being on different sides? Is it going to be around whether they should be on the same sides, or is it going to be around the fact that they are two adults, you know, parents who can and should be allowed to have their own positions? But I'm not sure that JJ or her father are going to go scot-free in the campaigning without one side or the other making reference to their connection. And that's where I think the personality-driven thing comes in. The whole idea of this being a campaign involving families and family names, you know, and family enemies and family friends, that is personality-driven. To what extent is it a reflection? Is it something new? Or is it a situation where, just like you always have personalities, you always have families? I mean, you look at my family, I must be the only Busque known to be supportive of the Labour Party. But is that a negative? When the Labour Party, one of the founding members of the Labour Party was a Busque. You know, and when the UWP was established in 1964, it was because two Busques crossed the floor from the Labour Party. So we can do more to focus on policies rather than personalities.
Okay, but then do we even want to? Because you started off by saying a very true point, that is not just about local politics, it's worldwide, across the globe. And if you look at the United States politics, the media has taken a lot of blows for that by contributing to it and not focusing on the policies. Do we share the blame as well? Just as you pointed out, it's a global issue. Do we have the same problem here? Is it a lack of interest on the part of the electorate, or is that what the media seems to lean toward and does dictate what the public receives?
Let's look at the United States presidential campaign right now to make the point. Can the media anywhere ignore Donald Trump? You know, the guy finds ways to stay in the press. He's now called for a ban on Muslims. Now England, there are moves in England to ban him from coming to England. That's going to keep him in the press in England. You know, and right here we would like to know what's happening with him. Most of us think he's ridiculous. Most of us think he's senseless. But he's the one riding the charts. You know, is it as a result of his personality? It has to be, because he hasn't outlined policies. You know, he's outlined intentions, but hasn't put out a document saying, I, Donald Trump, will do this and that if I become president. We come back home, again, the role of the media in regular times is a part of the society, and in election campaigns, the media is a voter. Every media person is a voter, you know, and we have a tendency to be driven by where we think, where we lean, where our leanings are. That will reflect what meetings we cover and what meetings we don't cover. That will reflect what emphasis we put in our reports and what emphasis we ignore. The media is often bashed, you know, and I think in this case it's a bashing that says, all right, the thing is personality driven because it's the media keeping us. But like I said, in the case with Trump, politicians find ways and means of putting themselves in the news. In the lead up to the SLP's convention, the UWP held a series of press conferences in the week leading up to, and that ensured that the UWP was in the media throughout the week leading to the SLP's convention. The SLP convention took place in Vieux Fort, and it was carried live. You know, by one media house or a couple media houses. That has made a qualitative change in campaigning. The Labour Party's public meeting on the market steps, I followed it on my telephone. So that that's a positive in terms of media intervention. The technology, information technology, allows the media to bring the campaigning straight into your home. what we need to do is to be able to move to the next stage, because every election the media comes up. You know, now historically the media has been asked to either come up with a media code, a code of practice, etc., etc. I think those of us who can remember all of these demands that are being placed on us on a regular basis, what we probably need to do is, ahead of the election, decide how do we want, what role do we want to play in the election? Do we want to influence it, or do we want simply to report as it moves ahead? What is our relationship and attitude to the candidates? Do we want to bring them together in terms of, in a way that has never been done, which is to bring candidates from opposing sides per constituency on a regular basis to discuss and debate, you know, in the presence of the media, through the media, the U.S. presidential campaigning. We see it every 4 years that the candidates are lined up and they're quizzed by the press in the interest of everybody else. I know we can do it. The press can request it, but are our parties sufficiently mature after 65 years and 50 years? Are they sufficiently mature to agree to have roundtables, to have panel discussions, to have debates? You know, I do know that one radio station, WVent, which is the only talk radio here, for quite some time has been promoting the whole question of roundtables, debates, town hall meetings. The Voice, in an editorial, supported the move by WVent to have town hall debates, but those were on non-political issues. And the idea then was, why not graduate towards having sort of town hall debates as part of the campaign, so that the voters would be able to go to the town hall, the village, wherever, and you're going there to listen to the two sides, or the various sides debate, because we tendency, we talk about Labour and UWP, you have LPM, and now I have a white party of independents on the way. So I really think it has started. WVent did a town hall debate in Soufrière that brought persons of different political persuasions together to discuss, but they weren't there representing their parties. But in an election campaign, I'd like to see DBS, HDS, everybody come together and say, well, listen, this is what we do. And I think if all the media houses agree to one approach, or a common series of common approaches, then we could approach the parties as an entity, rather than DBS trying to get a thing over HTS and Choice trying to get over both of them, and some other one is trying to push everybody out. I think if we all get together, this is a campaign for St. Lucia. It's for everybody. It affects all of our listeners, viewers, and readers. And if we come together, I'm sure we could convince the parties to work with us to break new ground. That would be a tremendous achievement, and one would only hope that those of you watching and agreeing with such an approach would raise it with your respective MPs, candidates, and political persons of persuasion.
Speaking of historic and outstanding achievements, St. Vincent elections, but we're due for a break. When we come back, we'll talk about that, as well as the elections in Venezuela. This is the Press Club. We'll be right back.